folks, Cody here. An interesting conversation caught my attention down in the comment section the other day regarding a lick breakdown. Somebody asked a question that I get asked all the time: where do you play the lick? Now, I'll get to the response to that comment, which I 1000% agree with here in just a second, but this is a similar question that I would always ask peers when I was studying bluegrass music at ETSU. You'd be on the side of the road or wherever you're jamming, or in the backyard or by the barn or whatever. Usually the answer would be something along the lines of, play it where it sounds good, or play it till it feels right. And the takeaway from this is that really that is exactly what you sort of have to do here. The answer to the original question down in the comment section: put on a backing track and play it until it sounds right. And as crass as that might sound, that is the answer here, folks. Playing this style of music requires a lot of trial and error. You have to be training your ear to, in this example, play the lick where it sounds good, but also in doing that, you're gonna learn where to play the lick and where not to play the lick, where it sounds bad. This is a growing chapter inside of my paid membership, Flatpick Foundations. I will be adding more to this in the future because I see the problem with a lot of the bluegrass content online. If you're wanting to go and learn a more advanced arrangement or a more advanced instrumental, usually you get like a tab that's like 2 or 3 pages long, and it's impossible to sit through and learn the nuances of that arrangement. What I find much more practical is to learn the lick and then figure out where we can stick it in an arrangement with sort of the basic melody. And that's exactly what I did there at the beginning with the song, The 9-Pound Hammer. 1, 2, and 3. I use this one as an example a lot because it's gonna pop up in bluegrass jams. If you're not familiar with the tune, it goes like this. Well, the 9-pound hammer is a little too heavy. It's for my size. It's for my size. All right, and that's the only part we're gonna be working on today, and that to me is where I stuck this lick. I've been playing it for the past couple weeks, and I'm gonna show you exactly how I approach it right now. All right, enough yapping. So I am starting this lick. I'm gonna play the beginning part here just so you get a little bit more from this lesson. From this 3-finger style G chord. The reason I'm doing this is because this song generally is played pretty up-tempo. I'd say around 90 to 100 beats per minute, around that, in a jam. And so I want my fingers to be ready to play their home bass notes, which are right over these respective frets here where you see my fingers on, okay? Now, I don't know if this is how most folks play it, but this is the way that I approach it. Simple pickup notes. All right, and then I'm gonna use the 2nd and 3rd fret of the G string to really kind of play a rough skeleton melody here of this tune. All right, so that would be the part that goes, well, the 9-pound hammer is a little too heavy. It's for my size. I'm gonna try to retrofit this lick on the 2nd part of that lyric. It's for my size. All right? All right, nice and slow here. But here's another important element of this lick and why the question, where do I play certain licks, is really kind of hard to answer. And that is because we actually played the lick in this context over a G chord and a D chord, and it resolves back into the G chord, whereas the original lick was played entirely over a G chord and it sounded fine. And so when it comes to the question, like, where do I play licks, there's really infinite amount of answers to the question. It depends on the context of the song, or at least take some of the ideas or the blue intervals, these slides. All right, you can even play around, just hold those notes and let that ring out over the melody. There's so many different ways to approach it. And that's what I really encourage my students to do, whether they're inside of the paid membership or if I'm doing a Zoom lesson, is this style of music, you really have to train everything. You're training your ears, of course, to figure out where to play the lick, but you're also training your fingers and everything else to really work in unison, because like I say, there's a lot going on in this style of music. It's a very uppity, note-filled style of music, and so things happen fast. And like I've always said, when you break this down bit by bit, chunk by chunk, which is how I teach it, where you can get inside of a lesson, take away a skill, not be, turned off by a lick that's really difficult, so we can't expect to be able to play these licks expertly in the greatest or in the right time every single time. And so what we can do is just break it down to where you still get that satisfaction of being able to play a really cool and rewarding style of music that you don't have to plug inside of a wall to recharge it, but you're not, kind of turned off by just how fast a lot of players play. That's really not the point of learning bluegrass. The point is to sound good, to carry on a tradition, and to have a lot of fun doing it. Folks, I hope that's been helpful. Again, I'm putting more and more lessons just like this with the on-screen tabs into Flatpick Foundations. I recommend the lifetime access because you're gonna get the most bang for your buck. It's still gonna be less than like 4 private lessons of my own, about the same of like 2 to 3 lessons from other content creators. There's a lot of great value in there, and it's structured for beginners who really wanna just learn and go play and impress friends and family and just have a great time playing really cool music. Folks, we'll see you. Bye-bye.